Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel, where we are once again getting some major resolutions for some actually pretty significant signals that I expect to occur or actually transpire over the next couple weeks here. So all of the preparation that we've been having for the past couple weeks here is looking like it's coming to fruition today, although I don't want to misspeak here because it's been looking like that for the past week, and now we are at a major precipice. So with all of that in mind, I do want to wish you well. I want to wish you the best of the best, and also let you know, oh yeah, it's Memorial Day. Hey, we have a sale going on. So there's 20% off of all the programs. Perhaps we'll swing around there a little bit at the end of this video if time does allow. As always, when it comes to any one of these programs, make sure that you watch the promotional videos so you can understand if they're for you or not for you, because there's no point in getting something that's not like for you. Anyways, let's jump into it right now. I want to waste no more time because this one might be a little bit on the longer end. So, and also no live stream today, obviously, as well. I'm running a few errands and just, not enough time today. Anyways, 5-day over here. So this is one of the big charts that we've been following for the past, realistically for like the past year, but in this case there is yet again another signal baking right here right now, and this is going to play into the daily volatility versus stochastic momentum signal, of which, yes, yesterday and the day priors it was suggestive of a higher probability of resolution to the downside, but we did not have the final confirmations on it. So now I believe, or at least the probability is going to very likely shift here based mostly upon this chart. So the 5-day chart right here has been judging, or at least running my major biases on this asset for a long time now. And in this case, what I'm calling upon here is this same sort of signal that we've been referencing, which is the 5-day BBWP versus stochastic momentum signal, of which first and foremost, volatility is going to be the major focus here, represented by BBWP. And what do we see? Well, we see anytime that it does get down to about mid-teen percentiles, the expansion phase from there has led to an average move of about 45% down over the course of 40 days. This is already played out. This is something that we referenced about a couple months ago, back in late March, early April. That played out about 47% to the downside over 40 days, very much in alignment with the last 4 iterations that we've seen in the past year and a half here. The reason why I'm calling this up yet again, however, is because there's a very specific thing that happens typically after the signal plays out once we get the next major confirmation, which is the 5-day stochastic momentum oscillator crossing in the opposite direction of the initial signal given, creating a bit of a mean reversion, in this case a bounce, of course, because the first move was down, and obviously if it was to the upside then it would be a downside move. Anyways, in this case right here, we're gonna see the closure today at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and if the daily closes, which is also going to be the 5-day as well, anywhere above 28,350, which so far so good, I would say, then very likely we do see this move start to occur over the next actually forget how many days, which maybe I've calculated somewhere, but anyways, I've gone through the calculations here. And we can see that on average for these mean reversion bounces, we've seen about, let me pull it out. There we go. About 31.1% move. So when I'm calculating the mean reversion bounces, let me just kind of give you an insight into how I do this. For example, on this iteration right here, the first move was to the upside. And in this case, the mean reversion was a downside move. This one about 25.5% move to the downside done over the course of 15 days. For example, this one to the upside over here would be about almost 30% done over the course of 10 days. So I've done that for all of the prior ones. And in this case, we've seen about an average counter move about 31.1%. So in this case, coming off of the low, we'd actually take it from that $25,000 ticker. So 31 puts Bitcoin somewhere around about 33,000 bucks or so, give or take, a little bit from that number. With that in mind, I've also calculated all of the mean reversion plays on only the downside initial moves, which obviously this is what we had over here as well. And these moves have had a greater effect actually on the mean reversion plays, which is kind of like that would theoretically make sense. Anyways, about 38.12% on the upside bounces from those levels, which would put Bitcoin, somewhere around maybe even 35,000 bucks, give or take a little bit from that number as well. So again, if we actually go to this chart over here, I think I have it. Nope, is it this chart over here? Yeah, it's just this chart over here. So basically what fires off in the signal is, as I've kind of shown right here, is when we see the 5-day stochastic momentum also to get that first cross against the initial signal. So if it was down, like you see right here, it would be this first cross to the upside right here. And again, we're going to be closing this one tonight, and any sort of a closure above about 28.5 or so, that well, that will be in play. And then that can obviously bleed into this chart over here, of which, yes, until we actually see volatility expansion on it, there's not really like a full-on signal given. But in this case, if we reference the daily, it's the same thing as before, right? Anytime that we do see daily BBWP below about 10 percentile, the expansion phase from there leads to about an average move about 20%. Give or take a little bit, sometimes a little bit on the higher end actually. And that has been mediated 10 of the last 12 times, the correct direction on that volatility expansion play for the daily specifically has been correctly gotten by the daily stochastic momentum oscillator right here, which is once again to the upside. So this is why it's very, 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 very important to wait for confirmation. Yes, my biases coming into this were wrong. It's not necessarily my bias. It's like, look, if it's down and we're waiting for expansion, I'm going to play it that way, or at least I'm going to look at it that way as more likely, probabilistically speaking, until we get like full on confirmation of expansion, which again, do we actually have it right here? No. So, again, this could be wrong as I am making a bit of a correlation between the 5-day and the daily. So understand where my sort of, where I might be sort of making some assumptions here. So in this case, yeah, we're seeing the BBWP actually get a positive slope yet again. Obviously, it's not above the moving average, and the moving average also does not have a positive slope as well. Those would be the two next confirming factors that would, put this signal into play. And that would imply from expansion, somewhere right around here, 20% move to the upside puts Bitcoin, about a little bit above $35,000 or so. That obviously has major confluences with this chart over here, of which, oh, fuck, I had to delete my chart, so I have to kind of redo this again. But that's okay. We can just do it right here, right now, because it's pretty simple to do. Anyways, first and foremost, CME Gap coming in from 6th of May. That was just a couple weeks ago. That's going to be where? Oh, $35,000. Crazy. We also see daily 21 exponential average coming in there as well. And whoops, whoa, Jesus, man, that was fast. Hold on. I think I'd like to maybe trade this myself. Let's try some of this action over here. Okay. Let's try some of that action right there. Okay. Also good. Let me just double check. And yes. Okay. Very nice. All right. Sorry, got a little bit, it's like, whoa, what the fuck was that? Anyways, okay, yes, so this would be, again, applicable to play it out over the next, 15 days or so, again, on average, as we did, Jesus, man, this sound just keeps on popping up everywhere, 15 days or so from the official cross, so that would be over the next 2 to 3 weeks, let's say, from today, essentially. Anyways, okay, so what else do I want to get into right on over here? Yes, so we have that CME Gap. We also do have, if we pull up a nice fib, probably have a nice, what do you know, let me actually get this right. There we go. Let's actually get it from the range highs. There we go as well. We do see the 0.5 around that $35,000 number as well, so good confluence there, of course. And then that brings in a question in the short term, what are things looking like right here? Well, we do see the 21 is going to start to swing around the daily range highs. That's going to be about 31,350 to 31,500 or so. Do keep an eye on that area because very likely Bitcoin to pull back there if the daily does get there. And in the short term, do we have a bit of short-term ranges going on right here? Yeah, we do have a range high coming in from this 30,700 number or so on CME. And basically, I would be running with this essentially as long as Bitcoin's above that daily momentum pivot point, which is basically, you could even say $30,000 at this point, but 29.8 is going to be the magical number right there, as especially on the daily, just like every chart has to do its own little beep. The daily is also pivoted, about 29.7 as well. So all those numbers kind of correlated around that region. So that would be the daily level. And then of course the 5-day is like more than $1,000 below there, which, probably like obviously a little bit further away. Anyways, in the short term, do I expect a bit of a pullback from this region? Probably yes. Again, it depends what time frame we're on. It seems to be a big point of contention in general analysis, just because, when you're talking about macro, you're talking about very long term. When you're talking about micro like this, you're talking about very short term. But yeah, perhaps a little bit of a pullback from this region right here. But again, any pullback that fails to go below those momentum pivots, then, naturally that will likely take over in the next, few weeks to come, barring that 5-day closure today. So, was there anything else that I wanted to get into right here? We went over invalidations, went over very short-term targets. We're pretty much there, I guess. A break above about 30,000. Again, this is on CME, by the way, so check your numbers. About 30,750, and I'd be looking for Bitcoin to run back up to the daily prior range highs here, which is about 31.3 to 31.5 or so, basically somewhere around the daily 21. Probably another short-term pullback right there, and then range resolution above there. I don't know, over the next 15-ish days, let's say, on average, probably looking at the next major target somewhere around the 382 and then the 0.5. So what does this kind of call into question for the macro? Because yesterday I put out a major macro analysis. So assuming that Bitcoin does play out this move to the upside first, which we're not there just yet, actually. We're not there just yet. Again, if Bitcoin comes down by end of day below 29.8, majorly questionable, let's say. But assuming that it does fall through, I suppose good news would be is that I think the best case scenario that I've been mulling over for Bitcoin long term is probably likely to play out. Okay, another one, like getting too much, man. Which chart was that? Yeah, it was this chart over here, in the sense that, you know, Bitcoin, I still do think is actually quite likely to retest around our current lows, you know, so whether that be in like the mid, maybe even slightly lower towards 22 to 23,000 bucks. But ultimately, I would expect those lows to hold and Bitcoin trade sideways within this range between about 35 to basically 20 for, you know, at least until end of summer. And then, you know, if it can do that without actually breaking down, I'd actually be looking at that as very likely long-term macro accumulation and, you know, probably going to be okay. Maybe around end of year it gets moved again to the upside. But, you know, I still do think, again, let's temper expectations, because I do think that this is like best case scenario right here. I think it's very unlikely you're going to see some, more importantly, like this, or hopefully, assuming that the monthly close is something like this, we don't see something like that. That would be massively devastating, obviously. So I think that's going to do it for this particular video. I am going to be signing off now, and I want to wish you well. Take care and see you hopefully soon.